Hi, I'm Paul. For this video, I want to talk about seeking and see if we can try and understand in depth what seeking actually is. Maybe why we do it or why we feel the need. I don't know. We'll see how the video goes. You can take this video as a fact or not. I don't know. I'm going to give you my best ideas, but I'm making it up as I go along. So feel free to look inside yourself and see if you can understand what's going on. So if we're going to look at seeking, I suppose first we need to start off at the beginning. What comes before seeking? So what comes before seeking, I would say, would be the present moment. So this, me, self, in this moment, without any thoughts, without psychologically shifting away from this moment, just peace. And I'll try and touch a bit more on that later. But if we start off with just this moment of peace, of self, and say perhaps all of a sudden in our head we go, oh, I'm bored, this is just rubbish, I'm fed up, I need to go and do something. So what happened there is thoughts came in and then shifted you to a different moment, a different psychological time to this moment, which is also shifting you away from self. So you can see how the thoughts made us seek something different. Maybe at this point you could say, well, I'm bored, so I'm going to get my phone. And I'm going to go on Facebook and occupy myself. So you go on Facebook, and then you see one of your friends has just posted the dinner. And then you go, wow, that looks really cool. Take away them words when you look at your dinner. The dinner, sorry. So you look at this person's dinner. There's no thoughts whatsoever. You're just looking at a picture of somebody's dinner. Does that make you feel good? Or do you need the thoughts of, wow, that looks brill, to feel good? I'm only guessing, but I think that you need the thoughts in the first place to make you feel good. So then seeking would be to seek thoughts. Well, let me just point out that thoughts are very limited. And what I mean by limited is if we go back to the true self, which is this very moment, with all sensations, feelings, colours, and if we just take one split second of being in this present moment and just freeze it, in that one moment of all sensations, feelings, textures and everything, we might notice we received a lot of information. Now, if I try to describe that very 1 second in words to you, all of it, all the colours, the shapes, sensations, feelings, smells, I'd probably have to write books and books just to try to get you to even get just a little bit of what I received in that 1 second. Because words themselves fragment everything. They can't show the whole picture, so words are limited. Okay? So when it comes to seeking, What we try to do is shift away from this moment and go to thought. So then, if we're trying to seek thoughts, we're either seeking the good thoughts, seeking the bad thoughts. We seek to learn something. We seek religion. We seek spirituality. We seek knowledge. Try to know the most about anything we want to know. But in this seeking, it's all words, all thoughts. So let's say we have a good thought. Well, that's great. I want more. So I seek the next thought. But what happens if I can't have a good thought? Then I'll seek bad thoughts. As long as it's a thought, then it's a thought. So there is thoughts. There is this moment. And then there's something in between, which is the attachment to thoughts. You see, a thought in itself doesn't really do anything. So we attach on to the thoughts and try to make the thoughts meaningful. This attachment is what we would call an ego. It doesn't actually exist, but it appears to. So this seeking for thoughts is really the attachment to thoughts. So we want to attach to something that is other than this, which takes us away in psychological time to either the past or the future, but anything other than this. So then you could say, well, how do I get rid of this attachment? I know a lot of people struggle to get rid of the attachment to thoughts. Another point, maybe when I say that you can have good thoughts and then you can have bad thoughts, then maybe a lot of you might say, well, who's having the good thoughts and who's having the bad thoughts? Nobody. Nobody's having the thoughts. That's just once again the attachment to thoughts. All that's happening is just one damn thought after another, whether it be good or bad. Just one thought, then another thought, and then another thought. It's the attachment onto the thoughts. Even the attachment onto the thoughts isn't a somebody. It's not actually real. It's just an attachment. So why is it that we feel a need for the attachment to the thoughts? If we look at attachment itself, we could say that attachment must come from detachment. So you would have to detach from something to then gain an attachment onto something else. So we can say our attachment onto something is a detachment from something else. And we could say that something else is the real you, the self, this moment, sensations, feelings. So at some point we've decided to detach from ourselves, maybe for the hope of something better, I don't know, but attach onto thoughts. So we can say that perhaps maybe we attach on to thoughts for some sort of security, or safety. Maybe that's what we're trying to find. But let's just say that I was back with the real self, this moment, no thoughts. Could I feel unsafe without a thought? Could I feel fear without the thought fear? If I took away all thoughts, then there's just this. But if I seek, I'm seeking thoughts. Thoughts like fear, insecurity. So it does seem the very one thing that we're trying to do is to seek for something better and end up bringing suffering to it. So how do you get rid of thoughts? Or, sorry, should say, how do you get rid of the attachment to thoughts, which is the ego? Let's just say that your mind is like a garden. You have one plant that you feed and water, and you have another plant that you don't feed. What happens to the plant that you don't feed? It starts to die away. And this is the same as the attachment to thoughts. I can show you this because you've lost the attachment to self. You've lost the attachment to this moment, which means that you've never fed into this moment. Instead, you've been feeding the plant a thought or attachment. So how do we not feed in to thoughts? We have to ignore them. I can have a bad thought now. I'm an idiot. Just a thought. Doesn't mean anything. Don't have to listen to it. Don't have to pay attention to it. Don't have to respond to it. Just a thought. You've all heard of narcissists before. What do you think a narcissist is? It's an ego. It's an attachment to thoughts, in desperate need of attention to keep them thoughts going. And how do you get rid of a narcissist? By not feeding into them. Yeah, at first, we're going to start getting angry because it wants the attention, or they want the attention. Then we're going to be nice, give that a shot, see if you get attention. Then we're going to be really horrible. Then we're going to get really angry. And then we're going to push all your buttons. We're going to do everything. Then we're going to try and be nice again. Just anything to get attention. But yet still, you have to give no attention, and eventually they give up. This is the same as your own ego. You have to not feed it. It will get angry. It'll play every trick on you. Like, I'm bored. But then, take away the word or thought bored. Does bored exist? No, only in the ego. So the ego is going to play endless tricks. It's going to throw everything at you. Angriness, say nice things, say horrible things. Then eventually it's going to start agreeing with you. But still, give it no attention. It's a slow process, I admit. And meditation is probably the best way of doing it. So meditation, firstly, can be quite difficult for many people because the attachment to thought keeps on dragging you away, playing the tricks. I'm bored, this is rubbish. So it's very hard to hold the focus on just the stillness of this moment without getting dragged into thought. But if we recognize we have thought, we just ignore it and bring ourselves back. But to start off meditation, it's usually quite handy to have a focal object, like breathing, a candle, just something that you could bring your attention to, because it's hard at first to bring your attention just to awareness. You can possibly try that afterwards, but if you keep your attention on breathing, and then you notice you're drifting away from breathing, you start getting wrapped up in thoughts. Firstly, you notice, which is good, and then you bring yourself back. And then you drift, you notice, bring yourself back to your breathing. Well, it can be hard. And it's so easy to give into that mind that will tell you that the picture of somebody's dinner on Facebook is more interesting than this. But if you really want to get rid of the seeking, which seems to only bring suffering, then it's probably the best way, if not one of the only ways. So anyway, I think I've done enough waffling, so thanks very much for listening.